And Zoom tells us, and I am officially starting now. Hello, today is Saturday, February 5th, 2022. And actually, this is the first class for 2022 for me, because our last theoretical class was on New Year's Day, January 1st, and I did not have a class. For props, you will need to be in a chair, but well, you'll need to have a chair at the handy, because we're going to actually start in standing after my introduction. Then we're going to go to the chair, where you really need to be in a chair and not on the floor, because you won't be able to do the kind of movements that we need to do from a chair. Then we're going to go onto the floor, and we'll be in all different positions on the floor, on your back, on your side, on your belly. We'll see how much material we get to today. So you'll need your floor mat, because our theme is foot to full body movement. You're going to take off your shoes. You need to take off your shoes. I encourage you to take off your socks. So you uncage your feet from shoes, and you uncage your feet from socks as well. I know it's winter. If it's too cold, leave your socks on. Some pillows, a pillow for support for the head, pillow for under the knees, any extra pillows you need for supporting yourself in ways that help you be comfortable. And just a reminder, a few of our somatic guidelines: stay within your comfort zone. Learning to stay within your comfort is a skill, and it grows. Beginners don't often even know what comfort is. You want to back away from pain. You don't want to over effort. You don't want to pull or yank. You want to follow medical directives. And the most important part is to focus on your experience and the sensations of the movements you are doing. And we are going to, we're going to work with our whole body at times, our whole soma. Thomas Hanna liked the word soma rather than body. I will use them interchangeably, but soma is a better word, because soma, body, mind, and spirit, you can even say soma is really even bigger than that. It's our psycho, physical, emotional, social, cultural, soulful self. It's all of that. And that's how we are organized. Our brain and our whole being organizes the whole. Our brain does not organize a foot. It organizes the whole body, in which the whole soma, in which the foot is embedded. That's a really important concept, and a little difficult for a lot of Western people. We are going to work with the concepts of differentiation and integration. Differentiation means to differentiate, for example, the movements at the foot and ankle. We're going to learn the scales of movement at our foot and ankle, the different ranges of motion and their names. So today, most of our anatomy is going to be somatic, kinesthetic, proprioceptive anatomy. And then we're going to integrate. We're going to integrate our feet and the joints that we've been picking apart more into larger regions of the body, larger scales, and eventually into full body movement, full body scales. And at some point, we'll make music, movement of life, like walking is a movement of life, dancing, playing sports, doing all kinds of activities. You can make washing dishes a full body movement if you bring some awareness to it. But life isn't lived at the scales, but life needs the scales to understand the components. So our differentiation anatomy today are the scales of somatic movement, and then we'll integrate. And our goal is to come into full body, graceful, coordinated, easeful, pain-free movement. The only visual anatomy I'm going to do today, and I don't laugh at me. Well, you can laugh, but don't laugh in my face. I'm going to put a bib on because you'll see in a moment, I need to have better visuals for all of you. because what I did, probably caught my hair. Okay, hold on. You know what? I think it's going to be easier if I tie it. I needed a plainer background from what I was wearing. And what I did was I have a lot of disarticulated skeletal parts. I have a whole box of them. So I took a lower extremity. Here's the greater trochanter. This would be my right leg. This is the outside, the greater trochanter. This is the socket of the femur, the thigh bone, which goes into the hip. And then you see the knee. Unfortunately, they put the patella in the wrong place. The patella really is attached to the femur and not the tibia, but that's all right. You live with what you get. And this, so obviously we're going to be working with the foot today. And so here's our ankle joint. We dorsiflex and plantar flex. I call this flexion for ease. I call this pointing for plantar flexion with most of my clients because they understand point and flex. Point and flex. Technically, plantar flexion, dorsiflexion. And this that I painted in black, I got to take out my colored Sharpies. This is the talus bone, one of the most important bones in the whole foot, and nobody even knows about it. And our ankle joint, let's see if I can keep it on the white background. Our ankle joint is made up of the top part of the talus. It's like some people call it the upper talus joint because it forms with the ankle. And here's your fibula, this little thin bone on the side. And this is your shin bone or your tibia. It doesn't come down as far as the fibula. Maybe you can see that. You could look at your own foot, well, or palpate it. And the fibula and tibia attach as in a joint to the top of the talus bone in black. And this is what gives us ankle dorsiplantar flexion. Now, this talus has a lower joint called the subtalar joint, one of the most important joints in the foot, just as important as the ankle joint. And the talus, this talus is in black. This is the calcaneus in orange. And where the talus meets the calcaneus all the way around, it's hard to see it deep in there. Where the calcaneus and talus meet, that is your subtalar joint. And if this was my talus, and over here is my fibula, just like you saw here, and over here is my tibia. So from fibula across top of talus to tibia, that's ankle, that's flexion extension. And then down here, if this is my calcaneus, this lower joint, three-dimensionally all the way around, this talus, my talus here sits on the calcaneus, and it is the steering wheel. This is what allows your foot to roll side to side. This is inversion, eversion. Inversion is also supination. Eversion is also pronation. And the ability of your foot to roll, which a lot of us have lost, or as our feet can get very stiff, is really important for your body balance so that any kind of unevenness, turning, all kinds of subtle movements, our foot needs to be able to roll in and out. And that is the subtalar joint where the talus meets the calcaneus. If you don't learn anything else today, our anatomy lesson for today is to learn the talus, study the talus. It affects both the ankle joint and the subtalar joint in which we can turn. In other classes, we'll go through more stuff, but I had so much fun. The green, the long bones are the metatarsals. Where the little red is, those are our phalanges or our toes or our digits. From the baby toe to the index toe, I don't know, probably has a name. There are 3 bones in each of those toes or digits, and your big toe, your great toe, has 2 bones. And then from the talus to the green is navicular, and including the calcaneus, and purple, I don't know if you can see that, that's cuboid, and the blue are cuneiforms. Those are all the tarsal bones. So we have tarsals, metatarsals, and phalanges. And the medial side of your foot, this is the common arch that when we say the arch of the foot, we mean the medial arch usually. We have a lateral arch, believe it or not. We're going to be working with both arches, and we have a transverse arch. We have many transverse arches, actually, because we have wherever bones, and they're often at a bit of an angle, wherever you have kind of joints in bones that go across, we have a transverse arch. Most people mean this joint for transverse arch, where the phalanges, where the toes meet the ball of the foot, and you can go into high heel shoe foot. That's your transverse arch, but we have it here and we have it here. We have a number of transverse arches. Okay, that's our anatomy. Take off my bib. And now let's go into our movement. We're going to start in standing. Bear with us. Isaiah and I need to do a little bit of change of the focus. And they need to see my foot to my head and neck. Okay, so that's, if you could teeny bit, just raise it a teeny bit, so a little bit more, or bring that back a little, the box back a little bit, just, and then bring the, yeah, I think that's good. I pulled up my pants so you could see my feet. I know it's very small in some screens, but let's, this is the best I could get today. Isaiah and I really worked with lighting. Okay, let's start by just standing. We're going to start with posture. And this is the beginning. Just notice your posture. We're not doing a posture class today, but posture is always important. So stand in comfort and just notice your length and your broadness, and then go to your feet and just notice where the weight is on your feet. Is it more towards the balls of your feet? Is it more towards your heels? You could take your right foot. It may be different than your left. Are you more on the outside of the foot or the inside of the foot? You could take your left foot. Are you more on the outside of your foot or the inside? Are you fairly balanced? So you're just noticing that to start off with. And just remind yourself of if you've had injury to your feet in the past, sprains, fractures, broken bones, soft tissue injuries, which actually can take a very long time to heal, crushed bones, all kinds of things, surgeries. Just remind yourself so that as we do the movements, go with caution when you're doing a movement through an area that has been injured or has a problem or is extra stiff. Toes are often very stiff, especially the big toe. Okay, so that we're going to start with warm-up moves. We're going to start with our vertical axis, our spine, and as the spine moves, so moves the trunk. And so we're going to start with arch and flatten, or arch and curl. Maybe in standing is a little easier. I tend to let my arms go with me because it just feels so natural. So just start, you're going to arch, you're going to you want to grow tall more than you don't want to go back real far. You want to go tall. That's going to arch your back a little, and you'll go back a little bit. And then you want to curl, let your knees bend. You can let your elbows bend. And you're just starting out to warm yourself up, not in a flow, just to, when you go into, we call it a means whereby, when you go into a flow movement, it gives your body a sense, a map, a general map of what things feel like, and if you can do it, and if you feel safe. And now we're going to pay attention to where our weight goes. So when you arch, where does your weight go? And when you curl, where does your weight go? And now follow my instructions. When you inhale and arch, let your weight go more towards the balls of your feet and your toes. Toe pads, are they all on the floor or not? You're noticing. Exhale, curl, your weight comes more back toward the heels. Inhale, arch, your weight goes more forward into the balls of your foot. This is a more consistent weight shift for these postures. It may not be your habit. These are practicing scales of anatomically more efficient weight shifts with different postures. Okay, let's go to lateral flexion, hip hiking. Again, we're going to start more in the somatic center, but we're going to notice our weighted foot. So you might want to bring your hands on top of your iliac bones, your iliums, your ilia. And I'm going to give the directions for my body. It's going to look opposite to you. You can either mimic me and know you'll be on the opposite side, it won't matter, or you can just follow my directions and know you're opposite. That's up to you. So I'm going to shift my weight into my right, my whole right side shifts, and my weight is in my right leg and foot. See if you can feel that. I'm going to shift my weight left, and now my weight is in my left foot. Shift my weight right. You want to be able to unweight. This is where you might need a chair. Please don't do anything that's not safe for you. You want to be able to unweight one foot. We have to do this in walking. Now shift to the other leg and be able to unweight. I'm less stable through my left leg and foot. I'm more stable to my right. And now we're going to take this into a C curve. I'm going to go to the right first. Shift your weight into your right leg foot. Let your bend your left knee. Let your right hip be the high hip, your left hip the low hip. Feel the weight. Your right hip will come outward. Whatever your weighted leg that hip will come out, and make a gentle C curve, my right ear towards my right hip. Come back to center. Let's go to the other side. Weight shift to the left. Bend your right knee so that because your foot can't go through the ground. Your weighted leg, that hip goes up. This is part of the walking pattern. We can't bring our foot through the earth, so we have to bend our knee. And you want to be able to go from side to side, feel the weight shift, see if you can unweight your foot, but only if you feel safe and stable. Shift your weight to the other side. The weighted leg foot, that hip goes up, the knee bends on the other one, that opposite hip goes down, making a C curve to whatever hip is coming up, and come back to center. Now let's do some rotation. First, just a feel for just a little bit of rotating the whole body. We're doing an ipsilateral rotation, all to the same side. What do your feet want to do? Can you include your feet, or did you keep your feet really solid on the floor and you didn't let them move? Let them move if you can. We're going to take apart all of these different movements at the foot and then reintegrate them eventually in this class or other classes. Okay, this is rotation. This is your foot being able to roll from side to side. I'm going to turn to my right, my head, neck, my rib cage, my shoulder girdle, my somatic center, my pelvis. I'm going to bend my knees a little bit, and my feet are going to roll. I'm on the outside of one foot, the inside of the other. Use a chair if you need to. Be careful. Don't overdo it. If these are new movements to you and your feet are stiff, you do what we call micro movements. And now I'm going to turn head, neck, shoulder girdle, chest, somatic center, pelvis, bend my knees. And now I'm rolling the other way. Use a chair if you need to. See if you can get these movements on the outside of one foot, the inside of the other. Go slow enough in a flow and see, let your knees bend. And see if you can get that the feet are actually rolling. It's an inversion, eversion, supination, pronation move. In the feet, the rest of the body is rotating. And come back to center. And now we're going to go into the chair and do some chair movements. So once again, I need to adjust a little bit. And I think for this, we're going to pull this. And I need my feet to show. Okay, I'm sorry, pull the table back. Pull the table back. And bring the screen up a little, bring it up a little. Yeah, make sure they can see my feet. Yeah, perfect. Okay, doing the best I can with lighting. Okay, oops, this went off, Isaiah. I don't know why, maybe that. Okay, so what we're going to start with is we're going to start with those same movements that through the spine and trunk, and we're going to see what happens with the feet when we sit. Let's start with posture. Thank you. Let's start with posture, sitting posture. Feel your sits bones. You want to have nice length. You don't want your head pulled back. You want your eyes on the horizon, a nice long neck. You want to feel from the crown. Can you pull the screen up just a tad? Just that. Okay, yes. Okay, I'm right here, good, but I want my feet to show, that's more important. So bring it down a little bit, or bring the table back a little bit, maybe. There, that's good, thank you. Okay, so from the crown or a little behind the crown to the tailbone to the sits bones. Actually, sits bones and sitting are better than the tailbone for length, broadness. Ankles under the knees, approximately. And we're going to start with our arch and flatten curl. So you're going to start with an inhale and a gentle arch, go long more than you go back. Exhale, come back on your sits bones to your pelvis will roll, you'll curl a little forward. Inhale and arch, you'll go a little forward on your sits bones. Again, this class is not really a beginning class. I'll give instructions as much as I can, but just keep coming to classes and you'll get the hang of it. Now, let's combine, let's impose in the ankle foot area some movements of plantar and dorsiflexion. When we inhale and arch, come on to the balls of your feet. And as you exhale and curl, you can lift, you can dorsiflex your feet, you're staying on your heels. Inhale, arch, plantar flex, and maybe you can even go onto your toes. And then as you come back on the balls and then come down, find an exhale, dorsiflex. You're curling your spine, your weight is more behind your sits bones. Inhale, arch, point. Exhale, curl, flex. One more time. Inhale, arch, point. Exhale, curl, dorsiflex. Good. And come to neutral. Readjust your posture on your sits bones, long spine, head is not back, eyes are on the horizon, neck is long, shoulders are broad, pelvis is broad, back is full. Okay, now we're going to roll our pelvis from side to side. This is the beginning of hip hiking lateral flexion. I have a short side, I'm making a C curve. I come to neutral, I bring my weight to one hemipelvis, the other hemipelvis is light. I'm making a C curve. The lighter side that's lifting my higher hip, this is my more contracted or condensed side. My ear on the side of my hiked hip goes towards that hip. The other side is your long, eccentrically lengthened, more expansive side. If you have trouble controlling this movement because you haven't yet had enough practice with your obliques and your rib cage, that's okay. You can use your foot a little bit. If I press my right foot down, it helps me to lift my right hemipelvis and curve myself to the right. If I push my left foot down, it helps me to lift or lighten, doesn't have to be lifted, lighten my left hemipelvis. I make the C curve to the left. So I can use my feet, I'm trying to get my arms out of the way to help me. Now maybe you can use both because you're in a seat. Why not use your feet? But you want to be able to use your somatic center at the sides, which are your obliques. Now maybe leave the foot out, use less foot and see if you can get it in the somatic center. Now use both your feet and your obliques. You want to be able to gain control of different parts of your body. Now let's bring this into movement of our feet. This is going to be the rolling motion, subtalar joint, the lower joint where the talus meets the calcaneus. As we go into one direction, see if you can roll the bottom of your feet is towards your hiked hip. The bottom of your feet is toward your hiked hip. Your ear and the side of your foot are coming together on the outside. See if you can just get the flow of it. Maybe one foot flows better than the other foot. That is, let's go more regionally. Your upper body can flow, but focus more on your feet. Maybe do one foot at a time. Can you bring, whatever foot you're bringing in, the bottom of the foot coming inward, inversion, that knee goes out a little bit. When you bring your foot outward, the bottom of your foot outward, that knee goes in a little bit. Maybe you can even do one foot in inversion. That is the weighted hip. The other hip comes up. Eversion with that foot. That's as the bottom of your foot goes out into eversion, the same side lifts up and the other side lengthens. See if you can get that movement. These are tricky, sophisticated movements. See if you can get that with your other foot. Maybe start in the foot and gradually see if you can get it through your whole body. If this is a full body scale, as you bring your other foot, the bottom of your foot in, that's inversion. The knee goes out. The opposite hip hikes up. The hip on the side where your knee went out and you are inversion in that foot, that's your long hip. And now when you go into eversion on that foot, the bottom of the foot goes out. That same hip is the lifted hip. Your other hip is your long hip. See if you can get the flow from your feet up through your body. Not a pretty sophisticated move to do, and then maybe go back to both. Now, I want to say, if you haven't done much movement with your feet, and if your feet are starting fairly stiff, go easy on yourself. We are going to be doing a lot of foot movement, and these are tricky things to do. Okay. Rotation. We're going to be rotating our foreleg and our foot. It's under the knee. In some books, they call this knee rotation. To me, it's foreleg and foot rotation. And your knees are going to stay fairly stable. I like to put my hands on them. and you're going to keep your feet flat, feet flat, feet flat, feet flat. Okay, you are turning, let's do one at a time. I'm going to turn my right, you can turn either one. I'm going to see which is easier. Is it easier for me to turn my right foreleg and foot out or in? Let me see. It's easier for me to turn this one in. It may not be easier for you to turn that one in. I'm just doing a test. There's always some differences. Now I'm going to do a test over here. I'm going to turn my foot and foreleg in and out. In, I'm feeling that. Out. Oh, on my left, it's easier for me to turn my foreleg and foot out. So my overall pattern is for my left foot to turn out, my right foot to turn in. That's my pattern of ease. That's something for me to remember. It's not a bad thing. It's just what's true. It's how my brain has organized me right now. And it also tells me gives me some material to start working with and where I can continue to mobilize myself and gain more flexibility and elasticity. Now, we can come from the foreleg and foot and bring that movement through our body. We have some choices here. Since we're doing a rotational, we're on the horizontal plane, we're doing a rotational move, I'm going to bring my hands up to my chest, we can rotate our whole body, ipsilateral rotation to the same side. I am putting rotation through my head, neck, all my spinal joints, my rib cage, even my shoulder blades a little bit, my somatic center, my pelvis, my legs, my forelegs, my feet. This is rotation. Now, if my arms are down, my inclination is to turn and go back a little. I'm now doing more of a three-dimensional move. Yes, I'm rotating, but I'm also, this is short, this is long, and I'm also a little bit more green light on this side. I'm also more extended on this side. If I just do this movement to my sort of dance self, then I'm not doing a pure rotation. I'm doing rotation with lateral flexion and a little bit of looking over my shoulder as I rotate to my right. And so that's a little bit more extension on that side. So there's a lot of choices in our body. In this move, we started with the lower body and we expressed ourselves through our body. Okay, that's where we're going to end our chair movement today. I have about 7 or 8 other foot movements from the chair we're not going to be doing today, but we're going to be doing in future classes. So let's bring ourselves now to lying on the floor. So get your mat out, support under your head, support under your knees if you like that. I think that's actually a good idea at the beginning so your low back can relax more. I won't be demonstrating these. I will be giving the instructions. And let yourself be comfortable. Pardon? I'm sorry, what? Okay. Okay, better? Would it be better to, we could turn this light as well a little bit more on me. No, we're okay. All right, we're okay. Good. I'm going to put my slippers back on because my feet get cold. But you'll need your shoes and slippers off or whatever. Okay. As soon as you're on the floor, get yourself comfortable. You definitely don't want your head to be tipped back. That contracts the back of your neck. It's a very bad habit, which I have, many of us have. If you put some support under your head, it'll prevent you from tipping your head back, and it'll help you to lengthen your neck as you just let everything go and relax. So I really encourage everybody to use some head support, especially at the beginning when you're first letting your soma, your body, relax. Okay, we are now into, got to find where I am in my notes. Okay, so lying there, we're not going to do an elaborate body scan, even though I created one. We'll do that in a future class. Just let yourself sink into the floor, feel supported by the floor, notice your comfort level, and just think about your feet. You're not looking at your feet, but you got the bottoms of your feet are either on the floor if your knees are bent, or your heels are more on the floor if your legs are straighter. And you could wiggle your toes a little bit. And can you notice your calcaneus, your heel bone? You won't notice your talus unless you sort of flex and extend your ankles a little bit or wiggle your feet side to side, subtalar joint, just to bring your feet into your mind's eye. And now let's start with bending our knees and feet on the floor. Start with your arch and flatten, where you inhale and arch, you're rolling towards your tailbone, your lower back is lifting a little. Exhale, contract your belly. It rolls your pelvis so your pubic bone comes up, and you're going to go back and forth a little bit. And as you do, you're going to start to do, when you inhale and arch, you're going to lift your heels, come onto the balls of your feet, and maybe even higher onto more towards the tips of your toes, whatever is comfortable. As you exhale and flatten, your heels will stay on the floor, your toes and foot will lift towards your kneecap. So as you inhale and arch, your plantar flexing, pointing. Exhale, contract belly, you are flexing, dorsiflexing toes and tops of foot towards the kneecap. Let's do that with our legs long. Go ahead and finish the one you're in the midst of, lengthen your legs, same thing. Start with your arch and flatten. It's going to be smaller. Sometimes it's quite a bit harder to find, then you start to get used to it. Start with your somatic center, the center of your body. Start with your spine. Let your head and neck move. Make sure you're breathing. And then as you get the hang of doing your what we call arch and flatten, arching, inhaling, arching, lower back contracts, exhaling, contracting belly, front of body shortens, start adding the foot. Inhale, arch, point. You're pointing your toes. In this position, you can point your toes more, be cautious. Your heel is going backward. You're contracting through your Achilles tendon, and your calf is contracting. Exhale. We're on a flatten. Exhale, toes and foot towards your kneecap. Your legs are long, or maybe a little bit of bolstering under your knees, but not a lot. And your belly is contracting. Inhale, arch, point, cautious, be careful. Exhale, contract belly, flex, pull toes and foot gently towards your kneecap. So ankle movement, flexion extension at the ankle, tib, fib, tibia, fibula, and upper talus. Okay, and let's come to quiet. And now go ahead and bend your knees. I like to bend one leg at a time. And you always can adjust how far apart your legs and feet are as you start to get the hang of what we're going to do. You may need to widen your feet, probably not narrow, but it just depends how it feels. It has to start feeling good. And we're going to go down to the foreleg and foot. You're going to start with your feet flat. You're going to be internally and externally rotating your feet, your foreleg and feet. Your knees are going to stay relatively quiet and just in position. So you're going to, let's do both feet at the same time. We're doing it as a flow, just to start getting the sensory and the motor input just from getting the hang of the movement. You're going to be turning your forelegs and feet first in one direction, like say to the right, feet are as flat as possible. You'll go through your neutral, you'll turn your foreleg and feet in the opposite direction. Sometimes we're going to be doing it with our both forelegs and feet, and we're also going to be separating it. But just you're getting the hang of what is it like to do both feet together. All right, now let's individuate. Let's differentiate. Bring one leg down. The leg that is long is not your working leg. Your bent leg is your working leg. And this is the leg we're going to experiment. Bring your foreleg and foot, internally rotate, bring your toes towards the other side. That's internal rotation. Feel, is that easy? Can I feel my foreleg and my foot, or can I just feel my foot, or what am I experiencing? And then come to your neutral, and then turn into external rotation of your foreleg. Your toes will go outward to the side of you, foot flat, which is your direction of ease. See if you can figure that out. Which is your direction of ease? Take your direction of ease and maybe do that 1 or 2 times where you go in your direction of ease and back to center. And then into your you can go with mini movements, direction of ease, back to center. Just do a little bit. We're doing a lot. We're really giving our feet a lot of workout, and some of our feet aren't used to that. And then go ahead and, you might have to make it very small. You can even do it in your imagination. Take your foot and foreleg and bring it to the side that wasn't as easeful. Maybe it was equal and you're just doing a little to each side. Come back to your center point, slide that leg long. Notice the sensations. Sometimes you can compare a little bit. I know for some people I'm going a little fast, but we're running through a lot of scales today, and some movement will be in a flow, and some will be more pendicular, where we focus on what we're contracting and then how to eccentrically lengthen that contraction. Don't worry if you're a beginner and you don't know that language yet, you will come to know it. Okay, let's bend the opposite leg. So now we're going to have a new working leg, foot flat. Start to experiment. Which is your direction of ease? Is it easier for you to internally rotate your foreleg and foot? Toes will go in the direction of your other leg. Or is it easier for you to externally rotate your foot and foreleg? Can you keep your foot flat? Can you continue to breathe and not hold your breath? Can you relax your spine and your trunk and your head and neck and your shoulder girdle? If you went kind of stiff, we often do that when we're learning new things or focusing really hard. See if you can let your body be lively but quiet as you focus on this differentiation, internal, external rotation with foot and foreleg. So you can take your direction of ease a few times, go into your direction of ease a little bit and come back to center. And then take your direction of ease, direction that wasn't so easeful, and try that a little bit. And bring yourself back to center and slide that leg long and rest for a moment, collect yourself, a mini body scan. Maybe your legs feel lively and awake. Maybe your feet feel lively and awake. Maybe you're beginning to notice some areas that you're stiffer than you thought you were. Please try to back off of pain. There's a whole lot more we can do with those movements that we will do in future classes. Okay, let's work with hip hiking and inversion, eversion. Go ahead and bend your knees. And we're going to alternate hip hiking. That is, you're going to focus more on your somatic center and your rib cage. You're going to, your buttocks stay flat. You're going to hike one hip towards the armpit of the same side. That shoulder armpit comes down, your ribs squeeze, your obliques contract. You have a short side and a long side. Come back to center, buttock stays flat. And now hip hike to the other side, hip up or side of pelvis up, obliques contract, shoulder armpit down a little bit, ribs contract, your head can, usually your head rolls in this position when we're lying on our back. And go back and forth a little bit and notice which is your side of ease. And we're not going to individualize today working with the side of ease versus the other side, but we will in future classes take more time with these. We're going to bring this movement down into our feet. And this is the inversion, eversion move, the rolling from side to side. And you kid, I am giving you permission to let your knees and your pelvis, let your legs and knees move a little bit. So let me start you off so that I don't get confused, and then you can go at your own pace. I'm going to start with your right. You're going to hip hike on the right, right hip up, right armpit down, and let both feet turn so the bottom of the feet go to the right. So you're on the inside of the right foot, the outside of the left foot, and come back to center. This is the steering wheel, subtalar joint. Now, hip hike left, left hip up, left armpit down, left obliques and ribs are contracting, other side is lengthening, the bottoms of both feet are going to come to the left. The inside of your left foot is on the floor, the outside of your left foot is more, right foot is more towards the floor. So now, as you gently, if you want to start it in the hip hiking, hike your hip and then figure out which way do my feet want to go. You're working together. One foot is inverting, one foot is everting. You're doing the steering wheel with both feet as you hip hike, and your knees can have a little give and they can move a little bit. So it's not such a stiff feeling, but it flows a little bit better. And now you're going to create a non-working leg and a working leg. Your non-working leg goes long. Your other leg, your working leg, stays bent. All right. We're going to do the steering wheel with the bent leg, with the foot of the bent leg as we do hip hiking. So now this becomes interesting. Let me start you off and then you can go at your own pace. You're going to hip hike right, right hip up, right armpit down, head rolls right, and you're going to bring the bottom of your foot towards the right. You are everting or pronating, and come back to center with that foot. We're going to stay with the right foot. However, we're going to hip hike left. Your left side gets short, left hip up, left armpit down. Your right side is long, and with your right foot, you're going to invert. You can let your knee move a little bit. The bottom of your foot is going to turn towards your left. You're going to be on the outside of your right foot or more towards the outside. You are inverting. You are supinating. All right. So with one foot, you're going to go back and forth as you hip hike. Hip hike right, your foot is everting, or the outside of the foot is going up. The inside arch medial foot is going down. And then you're going to start transferring the hip hike to the other side slowly through your center, and your right foot is going to invert as you hip hike left. So go back and forth and see if you can figure that out in your soma, in your body. so that you're hip hiking right, you're hip hiking left, and your right foot is able to follow so that you're either inverting or everting. I'll just say once again, if you're on your right side, if you're hip hiking right, you are everting the bottom of your foot out. If you're hip hiking left, you're inverting the bottom of your foot towards your left. There's probably a position of ease, something to just note. Don't overwork your feet. We haven't even technically included the toes yet. We will do that, maybe not today, but at a certain point, we'll include the toes. Okay, come back to your center, lengthen that leg. Just give yourself a few seconds. And bend your other leg. We're going to be doing the same thing. I'm going to start with the hip hiking and then we'll add the foot. If you're advanced, you can do it all at once if you know what's happening. You're going to hip hike left. Left hip comes up, left armpit down. You're going to flow into hip hike right. So you're alternating. You're getting used to what's happening in your spine and your trunk. You're breathing. Hopefully your head is rolling. You're really feeling the flow of this C curvature, lateral flexion. And now with your working, I'm going to start it with I'm going to program you for your left foot. As you hip hike left, you're everting the bottom of your left foot is going outward. You're on the inside arch. As you transition and hip hike right, you are inverting with your left foot. The bottom of your foot is facing the right. You're on the outside of your foot. It's a supination. Okay, now you're going to start to combine the flow of hip hiking from side to side with inversion, eversion of your left foot. If you're hip hiking left, you're everting, bottom of foot out, pronation. If you're hip hiking right, you're inverting the left foot, which is a supination. Notice your position of ease. You're welcome to change if you need to change your foot and leg position a little bit so that it optimizes your ease or comfort. That's fine. You can allow your knee to move. We're not putting a constraint of no knee movement on this. We're just letting it kind of flow through the lower extremity and wherever it goes above that. And bring your foot back to rest and lengthen your leg or bring your legs in a position of comfort. Give yourself a few seconds to a mini body scan. How are you doing? Notice your feet. Are you feeling more alive through your feet and through your lower extremity and through your body? Okay. Let's go to sideline. So you can turn on whichever side you want, and you want pillow. Well, you can use an arm under your bottom arm under your head. I prefer pillows. It's just more comfortable. I can arrange my shoulders more comfortably. It's up to you, but you don't want your head to be dropping down. You want your neck spine, your cervical spine to be in alignment with the rest of your spine. So do give yourself the support it needs for comfort. All right. We're in our lateral flexion move, we go into what we call the chair or 90-90 position. Your hips are at about 90 degrees. Your knees are at 90 degrees. Your ankles are under your knees. You can almost see your toes or slightly see your toes. And we are going to do the following move. Bring your top hand and you're going to bend your elbow and you're going to drape your fingers on the side of your shoulder or going that way. You're just going to bend your you're going to bend your elbow, but not in front of you, to the side of you, but your upper arm is close to your body. And you're just letting your hand drape, and it's going more to the deltoid area of your shoulder, the middle deltoid, but not forcing it. And what you're going to do is we're going to start with the regular lateral flexion move where knees stay together. Your top thigh internally rotates, your top foot comes up. You're going to bring your elbow down. So your armpit is coming down. So armpit, elbow down as hip comes up, and slowly release and come back down. And here's what I'd like you to notice on the second round. I'm going to call, there's so much words, it's hard to get the words out before you make the movement. So I don't like this. I've named this part foot up. I don't love it because it's not putting the emphasis in the obliques, but if somebody has a good name for this one, I'd love to know it. We're going to do the foot up position, knees stay together, your hip hikes up, your armpit and elbow are coming down. You don't have to raise your head, but some people naturally do. But notice when you're in this position, you have a short side and a long side. The long side is against the floor and it's harder to feel, but it's there. And slowly come back. And if you're new and you're completely lost on this, maybe you can take it in on some level. I don't think you can see anybody because I don't have that on the recording. But now we're not going to repeat that one. We're going to go into the clam. So on the clam, what you're going to do is you're going to keep your feet touching, raise your top knee to comfort, and your top arm is going to lengthen over your head. And you're going to emphasize your long side. Your short side is down toward the floor. And then come back, let your hand drift back towards your shoulder into your neutral. Let's do the clam again. Your feet stay touching, your top knee comes up, and as your top knee comes up, that hip goes long. You're going to emphasize length, eccentric lengthening on your top side. Your short side is the side next to the floor. And come back to your neutral. We're going to put those together, and we're going to add inversion, eversion, foot movement. Come along with me. See if you can take this in. Come back to the starting position with your elbow bent. Okay, now start in your lower body. We're going to segment this a little bit so I can give the directions. As your knees stay touching and your top foot comes up, you're going to bring the bottom of your top foot up toward the ceiling. So it's an inversion. You're adding that inversion, and just let your foot come back down and let yourself come out of that move. So what you're adding to this move, we'll do the lower body and then we'll put it with the upper body. Now, when you do the clam, as you start to lift your knee, the bottom of your top foot is landing on your bottom foot, like your bottom foot is a platform, and you're inverting that foot to do that. I think I told you the wrong movement on the last one. All right, I'll get my language straight and come down. I think I didn't do that right on the foot up. So as your knees stay touching and you hike your hip and your foot comes up, you are everting. I am sorry if I said you are everting, and the bottom of your foot is, of course, not going to reach the ceiling, but it's in that direction. And then you're going to come down. And then as you do the clam, you're going to invert, and your top foot is inverting, and your bottom foot is a platform for it. And now we're going to add it all together with the arm movements. I had it planned that we would do repetitions of each one, but we have the other side to do. I want to give you a sense of this. So putting it all together, we're going to alternate. You're going to start with Foot is going to evert. It's going to bring the foot up. Knees stay together. To hike your hip, armpit and elbow down. Slowly come to your neutral. Relax your foot. Relax everything. Now you're going to invert your top foot. Knee comes up. That's going to direct your knee to come up. Your arm is going to go long. Your long side is your top side. Your short side is the bottom side. Slowly come down. Your elbow can bend. Your hand can be by your shoulder. You're going to start the movement with an eversion. You're everting your foot. That's going to roll your thigh in. It's going to raise your leg. You're going to bring your armpit and elbow down. You're doing lateral flexion on your top side. That's your short side. You're going to slowly, you can come to center and stop or transition. You're going to not start with your knee up, but start with the inversion to bring your knee up into the clam and lengthen your top arm. Your long side, your top side is eccentrically lengthened. It's an interesting one to put all together. It's easy to lose track of different parts of that. It took me some practice, but what you want to try to include, because you can, is your foot movement. Okay, come back to rest and turn over onto your other side. Okay, some people are resting on their back a few seconds. That's always a good idea. And now make your way to the other side. And we're going to do these moves on the other side. Let's start with the 90-90, the chair position. You don't have to bring your foot in it yet. Let's get what we're doing more in the upper body, the spine, the trunk, the pelvis. Bend your elbow, let your hand drape towards your middle deltoid area. You're going to start with the regular lateral flexion, sort of your knees stay together, your top foot comes up, your thigh rolls inward to hike your hip, your armpit and elbow come down. Your top side is now your short side, your bottom side is your long side, and then you're going to gently come back to your neutral. Why don't you go ahead and do that one more time so that you are knees together, top foot up, armpit, elbow down, and come back to center. And now we'll go into the clam. We haven't really integrated our feet, but some of you may have already done that. It's okay. You don't have to have done that yet. Okay, clam, feet stay together, knee comes up, and lengthen your arm over your head. So you emphasize your long side is now your top side. That's your expanding side. Your bottom side is your short side. Your hip is coming up on the bottom. Your hip is going down towards your feet on the top. And slowly come back to your neutral. Let your elbows bend and your hand drape towards your shoulder. Let's do the clam again. You're going to, as you raise your top knee, your feet stay touching. You're opening up that side. Your arm is coming over your head. You are eccentrically lengthening your top side. Your bottom side is shortening. And slowly come down and relax. All right. Let's add the feet. I know this is pretty sophisticated stuff. I appreciate all of you that are attempting to follow along. Okay, so we're going to start with the one where our knees stay together and our foot up, but we're not going to start We're going to start with the E version. You're going to start by bringing your top foot toward the bottom of your top foot toward the ceiling. That's going to bring that leg up. Knees stay together, thigh rolls in, hip hikes up. And now if you want, you can add the armpit and elbow coming down as the hip comes up, and let that come back and release and relax. And let's repeat that one again. The bottom of your top foot is going to evert. It's going to start coming up toward the ceiling. That's going to lift the foot, which rolls the thigh in, which hikes the hip. Your armpit and elbow are coming down. You're doing a lateral flexion. Your top side is your short side. Your bottom side is eccentrically lengthening. You may or may not be able to feel that. And slowly come back to our neutral. All right, let's go to the clam, only we're not going to start with our awareness at the knee coming up. We're going to start at the foot. It's an inversion. The bottom of your top foot is going to invert, and you're going to use your bottom foot as a platform. The bottom of your top foot is going to stand on your bottom arch, the foot of the medial arch of your bottom foot. That's going to bring your knee up. That's going to initiate the clam, and you're going to lengthen your top arm, and you are eccentrically lengthening the top. And slowly come back to your neutral. And you're going to repeat. Your top foot is inverting, and it's aiming towards standing. Your bottom foot is like a platform. Your top foot is going to stand on it. That's going to bring your knee up. See if you can feel that inversion is actually bringing that knee outward. In this case, in this position, it's got more of a sense of up toward the ceiling. And you're going to continue to lengthen that side by bringing your arm over your head. And then you're slowly going to come down. All right, let's do one. Actually, we better bring that to an end because of time. Roll on. We will continue to do these and quite a few other variations I have in future classes. So come onto your back, give yourself a moment. And our last floor movement, of course, could not be a regular arch and curl on the diagonal. It's going to be a variation, but it's one that I like a lot. I find it, well, I like it. It challenges me in certain ways. It may not challenge you. It may be more easeful for you. Okay, bend both knees. Bring both hands behind your head. All right. What you're going to do is, let me program the whole move so that you can get it. As you inhale and arch, both of your knees are going to go to the left. You're rolling on your feet. Your upper body is going to turn to the right. Your right elbow is going to go more into the floor, so that as you rotate, you've got a bit of an arch into your right back. And now, as you exhale and begin to curl, both knees are going to go to, did I say knees to the left? I hope I did. Now your knees are going to go to the right. You're rolling on your feet. And as you contract your belly, you're curling, your upper body and head, neck are lifting. You're going to bring your upper body, head, and elbows, even your right elbow is going a little bit more to the left and aiming past your left hip. So you're letting your elbows help the movement, and then you're going to come back down. I will say that now for the other side. Hands behind your head. Both knees are going to go to the right. Your upper body, head and neck are going to the left. You're inhaling and arching. Your left elbow is coming back into the floor if it can. So you've got a rotation and an arch to the upper body to the left, lower body to the right. As you exhale and curl, your knees are going to the left. Contract your belly, lift your head and upper chest, and your left elbow is coming in and pointing past your right hip. Your right elbow is just doing what it can to follow along. And come back to center. So it's a combination of arch and curl on the diagonal and the twist. We'll do one more, even though we're right at time. Actually, we have half a minute. Let me go through that one more time. Knees to the left, upper body to the right. Your right elbow goes into the floor. You're inhaling and arching. Your right shoulder and left hip are making a diagonal arch on the bottom side, on your bottom side. As you exhale and curl, you contract your belly, your head and trunk begin to lift, or upper trunk. Your knees go to the right. Your right elbow is moving inward to the left and aiming past your left hip. And now left hip and left elbow, left hip and right elbow, right shoulder are more coming toward each other. And come back down and rest. It's something that's kind of fun to play with. It's fun to think of variations. This one's a little challenging for me at times, but I really like it. If you have any residual tension, bend your knees, do a little arch and flatten. And let me just say, we are at time. I understand if people have to go. Here's what I'd like to do to end the class is go a minute or two over, because what I like is to always walk at the end of class. I was going to make sure I allowed time to do that, and I failed in that endeavor, but we'll walk a little bit. And then I will stay after. I will tell you when we're officially done. I'll turn off the recording, and I will stay after for questions and comments and confusions. So make your way slowly, gently, make your way to uprightness, to standing. Stand for a moment just to feel your feet and your upright posture. And then take a little walk up and down a hall or around your house somewhere or apartment. You don't have to stay on camera at all. Just take a little walk. Notice how you feel. We've been focusing a lot on feet and how feet express, how the movement of the feet express themselves through the whole body, and how the whole body expresses movement all the way down into the feet. So take a little walk. Notice if you feel more fluid. Maybe you realize, boy, I'm a little stiff in certain parts. Maybe the stiffness, you may not even, it may be in your feet, but you may notice that including your feet brought awareness into some other parts of yourself, the shoulders or the head and neck or the somatic center or the rib cage or the pelvis, that were challenged when you moved more consciously and with proprioceptive awareness through the feet. Okay, thank you, everyone. We will continue this theme. Maybe I planned a class for 4 classes. I have so many pages of notes. I'm really loving this and the theme of working with foot through the full body. And we will continue this on March 5th. I'm going to officially say goodbye. So goodbye, everyone. I'll stay after